Welcome back to PGA Updates HB, the channel that never lets the real story get buried under the trophy ceremony. And today we are going to talk about the most explosive 60 seconds in American golf this year. Not the final putt, not the trophy lift. The 60 seconds on the 17th hole at Shinnecock Hills that turned a champion into the most debated man in the sport right now. Grab your seats because this one goes deep. Wyndham won the 2026 US Open wire-to-wire. 9 strokes under par through 54 holes. He became only the 9th player in championship history to win wire-to-wire and the 24th multiple champion. On paper, that sounds like a clean and dominant performance. But the internet does not care about paper. The internet found 60 seconds of footage from Saturday afternoon, and it has not stopped burning since. The word people started using was not controversial. It was not questionable. The word was cheat. And here at PGA Updates Hub, we are going to break down every single second of it, frame by frame, so you can judge for yourself. Golf Channel. But before we get to that hole, you need to understand who Wyndham is when he walks into a major right now. Because the context is not background noise here. The context is everything. Without it, that clip gets a few thousand views and disappears before Monday. With it, it detonated. Cast your mind back 18 months. The 2025 PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, hole 16. Clark launches a bad tee shot and then releases his driver into the air sideways. The club strikes a sponsor sign and stops just feet from a rope attendant standing in the gallery. Feet, not yards. The kind of near miss that makes everyone in the area go completely still and hold their breath. That moment lived on every highlight reel and every worst of compilation for weeks. Then came Oakmont. A year ago, Clark had to apologize for smashing Oakmont, Country Club's 121-year-old lockers after he missed the cut in the US Open. Oakmont did not send a warning letter. They removed him from the property entirely. Reinstatement required paying for the damage, making a charitable contribution, and completing counseling. Not suggested. Required. Clark apologized, and then apologized again when the first one did not land cleanly enough. In a sport where reputation is everything, 2 apologies for the same incident is its own kind of statement. Then earlier in 2026 came the Arnold Palmer Invitational, back-to-back rules incidents in the same week, patting down grass behind his ball, a free drop from a pitch mark in the fairway. Both reviewed, both cleared. But in golf, cleared and forgotten are not the same thing, and the pattern stacking around Clark's name became something millions of fans were already reading out loud. Walking into Shinnecock Hills, Clark himself addressed all of it directly. He said, "I did some unfortunate things last year that I really regret." That line tells you exactly what kind of atmosphere he was stepping into at one of the most demanding venues in the history of American golf. Golf Channel. Brandel Chambly reflected on how fans treated Clark during the US Open and said it was the worst I have ever seen a player treated. At least one fan was ejected from the course for heckling Clark, and others cheered when his tee shot went into a bunker. The Shinnecock crowd was not just neutral or slightly cool toward him. They were actively hoping he would fail on every single shot. They mocked his tee shots, celebrated his wayward approaches, and cheered his misses. This is the atmosphere Clark was playing in when he stepped onto the par 3 17th hole on Saturday afternoon. And that is why what happened next set the entire golf world on fire. The tee shot on 17 missed badly, not slightly, not catchably. It sailed so far left it nearly drifted toward the 18th tee box. A miss so severe that under normal circumstances Clark would be hacking out of fescue from a terrible angle with no path to the green. But a TV camera platform sat directly between his ball and the green. He was allowed to take a drop because it landed directly in front of a camera stand, impacting his backswing. Under the rules of golf, that is an immovable obstruction. Free relief. No penalty stroke. That part is not controversial, and nobody argued it. The mirror. What came next is where the internet completely exploded. Before taking his drop, Clark crouched down and began clearing the area, moving loose grass and debris out of the drop zone methodically, while every broadcast camera in the building locked onto his hands. Fans watching live and fans watching the clip on X had the same immediate reaction. Comments started flooding in before he even stood back up. And the answers the internet was supplying itself were not generous. This was accusation number 1 forming in real time. A man already known for rules incidents already carrying the weight of 18 months of headlines clearing grass before a drop at a US Open, with millions of Americans watching. Accusation number 2 arrived seconds later, and this one was more specific. The drop height. The rules require the ball to be dropped from knee height. Multiple viewers watching the clip frame by frame argued that Clark lowered the ball from knee level to shin level before releasing it, shortening the drop distance in a way that would give him more control over exactly where it landed. The clip was shared and quoted and repeated thousands of times within the hour. Then came accusation number 3. The one that did not just drag Clark's name through the fire, the one that dragged the USGA straight in with him. Clark dropped the ball, and it rolled back into the camera stand. He dropped again, and it rolled back into the camera stand a second time. At that point, and this is the moment the clip focused on hardest, Clark was permitted under the rules to place the ball. Not drop it a third time. Place it. Set it down precisely where he chose within the drop zone. He selected a clean tuft of grass and placed the ball carefully. Then, he chipped to the green and saved par. One fan wrote on, "Wyndham Clark hits his tee shot 100 yards left on 17 in a terrible spot. Then he just intentionally drops it so it comes back and he perfectly places his ball." The USGA was called criminal. The drop was called the most generous in major championship history. And the word cheat was trending before Sunday even started. Yahoo Sports. Now here is where PGA Updates Hub gives you what the viral clip did not, the full picture. Because every single accusation falls apart when you hold it up against the actual rulebook. Accusation 1. Moving loose impediments before the drop. The USGA handbook states that loose impediments can be moved anywhere on or off the golf course, including in bunkers and penalty areas. A rules official stood directly over Clark's shoulder and observed every single movement. If anything Clark touched had been a violation, the penalty would have been applied immediately on the spot. It was not applied because nothing Clark did broke a rule. Period. The mirror. Accusation 2. The drop height. The camera angle was misleading. Clark moved the ball outward away from his foot before releasing it. That is standard technique to prevent the ball landing on the player's shoe during the drop. It was not a lower release. It was not a manipulation of height. It was a normal drop executed correctly that looked different from one broadcast angle than it actually was. Accusation 2. The drop height. The camera angle was misleading. Clark moved the ball outward away from his foot before releasing it. That is standard technique to prevent the ball landing on the player's shoe during the drop. It was not a lower release. It was not a manipulation of height. It was a normal drop executed correctly that looked different from one broadcast angle than it actually was. Accusation 3. The double drop and placement. This one burned the hottest online and is also the most legally clear-cut point of all three. When a ball rolls back into an obstruction zone twice during a drop sequence, the player is entitled to place it at the point of the second drop. The rule is written clearly in the book. Clark did not find a loophole. He knew the rule book precisely and executed it with a rules official present who confirmed every step. Clark broke no rules. But here is the harder question that legal clarity cannot fully answer. In a sport built on the individual integrity of every player calling penalties on themselves, in a sport that prides itself on honoring the spirit of the game above everything else, what does it look like when a professional uses a double drop sequence to earn the right to place his ball on a perfect lie after a tee shot that nearly missed the hole entirely? The rulebook says that is completely fine. The culture of the game asks something much harder than that. Clark entered Sunday with a 6-shot lead. The New York crowd spent 4 days making clear they did not want to see him hold it. Sam Burns twice pulled within 1 shot. The 6-shot cushion became a single stroke. Burns missed a 10-foot birdie putt on 17, and then another birdie attempt dove away from the hole at 18, causing him to drop to his knees as he tossed his putter. Clark held on. He too putted for par on 18 and won by 1 stroke. wire to wire. 2 US Open titles, standing in front of the crowd that spent an entire week willing him to collapse. Athlon Sports +3. At the ceremony, Clark said, "New York didn't really like me. I love you guys. But I get it. Some of it is self-deserved." That is the line of a man who understands exactly what his legacy looks like right now and chose to stand in it anyway. Here at PGA Updates Hub, we leave you with this. Wyndham Clark is a 2-time US Open champion. The drop on 17 was legal. The USGA supervised everything, and the conversation it started about relief rules in professional golf is not going away quietly. The governing body is the only group in this entire story that has not had to answer for anything yet, and that answer is long overdue. Drop your verdict in the comments right now. Did the rules fail the game on that 17th hole? Or did Clark simply outthink everyone in the field, including the critics? Subscribe to PGA Updates Hub because the next chapter of this story is already being written and you do not want to miss it.